Born on the 24th of February 1977 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Floyd Mayweather grew up in a family with a strong boxing background. His father, Floyd Sr., was a former welterweight contender, while his uncles, Roger and Jeff, were also former professional boxers. Floyd Jr. started practicing the sport of boxing at a very early age, and it was his father who had noticed his huge potential that actually brought him to the gym and started training him. And yes, Floyd was doing very well in the ring, his natural talent and unmatched passion for the game helping him outclass his competition and amass a record of 84 wins and 6 losses as an amateur boxer. Quick, powerful, technical, calm and collected, Floyd Jr. was an absolute force once he entered the ring, and that came purely because of his great talent and true dedication to the sport from a very early age. However, his childhood was not easy at all. He grew up in an underprivileged community in a criminal neighborhood in Jersey where shootings, robberies and drug selling were a daily occurrence. His parents divorced when he was very young, with his mother's brother shooting his father in front of him. Although Mayweather Sr. survived, he would later spend significant amount of time in prison, leaving his son to his mother, who herself had drug problems. In other words, Floyd Jr. grew up mostly around his mother, in extreme poverty, living in dirty, urine-smelling buildings without any warm water, only with a single pair of shoes and a couple of shirts. He, his mother and 5 other siblings lived in a one-bedroom apartment at a certain stage, and as mentioned earlier, witnessing ugly, disgusting scenes on the streets was a normality. There was no escape from that hell. Floyd had to stand his ground every day, because if he didn't, other hoodlums would walk all over him. His main principle of action was eye for eye. You hit me, I hit you. You attack me, I attack you. But what inspired that young man? What did he dream of? What did he want to become? Well, you guessed it right. One word: boxing. Throughout his childhood, Floyd's only place of peace and serenity was the boxing gym. He would spend most of his days there, perfecting his craft and working for a brighter future. At night, before going to sleep, he would picture himself as a world champion, as a successful top fighter. Boxing was his only hope, and he decided to put all his energy and effort into the sport. Meanwhile, his relationship with his father was deteriorating, especially once he was sent to prison. At the same time, his mother was truly struggling in order to take care of the family, and her drug problems were not helping either. A mess. The outside world was full of filth, scum and dangers, and at home, the place which was supposed to be quiet, warm and welcoming, it was actually noisy, cold and insecure. Floyd's youth was full of problems, violence and pain. But it was exactly these difficulties that turned him into a tough individual, both physically and mentally. He, just like many other successful individuals from all walks of life, took all the negative energy and focused it on becoming great. And it all worked out perfectly. Turning pro in 1996, Floyd Mayweather managed to capture multiple world titles in different weight divisions throughout his career. In the initial years of his professional boxing journey, he was training with his uncle Roger, purely because his relationship with his father had been volatile for already a significant amount of time. Everything was going great for the young Floyd, who won his first title as a pro, the WBC Super Featherweight Championship, in 1998 after defeating Genaro Hernandez. However, the best decision that Jr. ever made in his life was forgiving his father's mistakes and appointing him as his main trainer back in the 2000s. Floyd Sr. taught his son how to use the shoulder roll technique, a defensive technique which Jr. would first embrace and eventually master. Under his father's guidance, Floyd Mayweather became an absolute icon in the sport of boxing, dominating and outclassing all his opponents with remarkable ease, showcasing never seen before fight IQ and brilliant tactical skills. Make no mistake about it, Floyd was an amazing talent, but it was his father who truly shaped him to become the undefeated 50-0 genius. On August 26, 2017, Mayweather faced and beat Conor McGregor, the most famous MMA fighter at the time, and up to this day, in a boxing match which turned out to be one of, if not the greatest fight of the century so far, in terms of general public interest, pay-per-view sales and media attention. That was Floyd Mayweather's last fight as a professional boxer. After winning with a technical knockout in the 10th round and showing the world that he was still the king of boxing, he officially announced his retirement. Starting from the lowest lows, from the scum, filth and dirt, from the bottom, Floyd Mayweather managed to reach the heights of boxing, the top of the sport, becoming an all-time icon. How did he do it? He did it through insanely hard work, full dedication, strong self-belief, and the very straight intention of saving his whole family and himself from the terrible hell which they were all living in and experiencing for already a number of years. And he did it. Not only did he himself become one of the wealthiest athletes of all times, but he also amassed generational wealth which fully transformed the lives of all his people. In addition to that, he improved his relationship not only with his father, but also with his mother. They had their differences, their misunderstandings, their quarrels and disagreements. However, eventually they forgave each other and their relationship took a very positive direction, with both of them reaching a state of mutual love and appreciation. Floyd is undoubtedly a hero, not only for his own family, but also for millions of people around the world. He showed all of us that there is always a way, that we can always make a positive choice, that regardless of where we start from, through hard work and sacrifice, we can make our dreams come true. He showed us that sky's the limit. Now, I hope that this story inspired and motivated you to chase greatness. However, as unfortunate as it sounds, there is always a dark side to success. As much as I would love to stick to the top of the iceberg, I have to stay true to myself and tell you about the other side of that iceberg, the uglier one, the one I would rather not speak about. Yes, Floyd did make it to the top. Yes, he did financially secure the lives of his parents, kids and grandkids. Yes, his passion for boxing, his second-to-none commitment to the sport, and his unmatched work ethic could serve as an example for all of us, regardless of the area which we are focusing on. However, the domestic violence incidents which he was involved in, the gambling addiction, the controversial statements on other people's race and sexuality, the constant showcasing of expensive cars, luxury goods and stacks of cash, the tax issues with the Internal Revenue Service over unpaid taxes, the allegations of unpaid debts by other people such as his former friend and associate, the rapper 50 Cent, the legal disputes with business partners, promoters and family members. The list goes on and on. Floyd Mayweather has a very controversial personality. As much as he is a genius magician inside the ring, as much as he could be viewed as a hero and role model for many young boys and girls also coming from poverty and looking for a legal way out, Floyd is also the man who allegedly assaulted the mother of his child, Josie Harris, back in 2001. In addition, he is also the man who punched two female friends of his children after an argument at his home. Again, allegedly. Apart from that, he's also the man who was sentenced to 90 days in jail after pleading guilty to misdemeanor domestic battery and harassment back in 2010. These are some tough accusations, but so are the ones claiming that Floyd is a misogynist, racist and homophobic. All in all, it is definitely not easy to be Floyd Mayweather. Did he actually do all these things? These labels, are they actually true? I don't know. What I do know is that ever since his retirement, in 2017, which was the last of a total of 4 official ones. Floyd Mayweather has taken part in 7 boxing exhibition matches, facing YouTubers and unknown fighters who are way below his level. Currently 46 years of age, he keeps on stepping in the ring, competing with people who in all honesty have nothing to do and are completely incapable of hanging in there with him. Why? He's financially set for life, as is his family. He's recognized as one of, if not the greatest boxer of all times. He's a father, even a grandfather already. Why does he keep on fighting? And why does he fight against complete amateurs? Well, once again, we will have to look back at his childhood and explore some of the factors which might have influenced his character and his controversial decisions throughout the years, because childhood trauma should always be addressed properly and on time. Otherwise, it could have a detrimental effect on the individual, and that could even happen many years down the line. But now, let's focus on Floyd. If we look at Floyd's upbringing, we can see that it was full of insecurity, stress and violence. He grew up in a very poor neighborhood, a ghetto we might say, where shootings, fights and drug selling were a daily occurrence. His home situation was also no sunshine and rainbows. His mother had drug problems and she had separated from his father when Floyd Jr. was still a kid. The father himself was in prison at a certain stage. All we know, Floyd Mayweather had a very tough childhood. And as it has been proven by scientists, exposure to domestic violence, something which Floyd had also experienced, or an unstable family environment during childhood, can increase the risk of replicating such behavior later in life. Important to say, it is not necessarily consequential that if an individual has experienced such events as a child, they will engage in such behavior later on in their life. There are plenty of examples of men who grew up without a positive influence father figure, but still managed to heal from their trauma and became excellent fathers and family men themselves. Not saying that Floyd is a bad father or family man, I'm just making the conclusion that some of the domestic violence accusations could stem from the difficult childhood years which Floyd had to go through. Another scientific study shows that witnessing or experiencing violence can normalize and perpetuate the cycle of abuse if the individual lacks healthy coping mechanisms or intervention. Well, as Floyd himself mentions, his main principle growing up was eye for eye. In other words, violence was a part of his life, and it could not have been otherwise. He had to protect himself and stand up for himself in order to prevent other hoodlums from bullying him. At that stage and at that place, it was survival of the fittest. But where did the gambling addiction come from? Again, if we look at Floyd's childhood, we can gain an understanding of why he would constantly bet on football and basketball games, on other sports events which he himself did not really follow or have plenty of knowledge on. See, it was not because of passion for horse riding or anything like that Floyd would bet so often. In actuality, it was about the adrenaline, about the feeling of tension. It was more like a pursuit of excitement. But why would a multimillionaire look for excitement in gambling? He could anyway afford to do whatever he wants, to go and buy whatever he needs, to experience pleasure whenever willing to. So why gambling? Because throughout his whole childhood, Floyd was living in insecurity. It was never certain whether there would be something to eat that day, whether he would go outside and then come back home safe, whether he would have to fight in order to protect himself from some local hoodlum. In other words, his life was always on the edge. There was no long-lasting peace. It was never, so to say, boring. So as an adult, in spite of being wealthy, safe and secure, in spite of having everything necessary to live a normal, peaceful life, Floyd simply kept on looking for the adrenaline, for the pressure and stress of the unknown. He needed that drama in his life because it had been so deeply ingrained in him throughout his whole childhood. This is a potential explanation of that particular addiction. But of course, we can never really rationalize why Floyd actually engaged in gambling activities. We cannot give a definitive explanation simply because we are not in Floyd's circle. We don't know him well enough. This is simply a hypothesis. But why does he keep on fighting? Well, what else is he supposed to do? True, he does have multiple business ventures, which he actively participates in, but let's be real, Floyd Mayweather is a fighter. This is his identity, this is what he knows most about, this is his life's greatest passion and biggest love. And now, at 46 years of age, after retiring from professional boxing, he does not really have a lot to do. You might say, go traveling, go on vacations, enjoy life, spend your money. Yes, but you need to understand that this man has been wealthy for many years. All these material pleasures he has already experienced a number of times. There are probably no tourist destinations which he hasn't visited yet. There are probably no expensive cars that he hasn't ridden. Floyd Mayweather has had more than enough fun throughout his life, but his bread and butter, the love of his life, has always been and will always be boxing. He's a fighter, he's a boxer, and this will remain so for the rest of his life. And although it is time to move on with his life, to make the next step, Floyd simply cannot let boxing go. And since he can no longer hang in there with the young and hungry dogs, with the new generation top competitors, he simply gets in there with YouTubers and influencers. In addition, don't forget that about Floyd. He loves being in the spotlight. He loves being the center of attention. He loves being talked about. So nowadays, the only way to make that happen is through boxing those influencers. And as unfortunate as it sounds, and as we often see with many great competitors in the combat sports world, although they get to reach the highest highs, although they make astronomical financial numbers, what they often miss is a state of inner peace and quietness. They truly struggle with getting used to the monotonic, boring, ups-lacking daily life, especially once their career is officially over. And Floyd is not an exception. He's just one of many. A man addicted to the fame, glory, adrenaline and attention. A man who has always risen up to the occasion when needed, but has been struggling dealing with the full of repetition everyday life. And if we were to listen to his formerly close friend, the rapper 50 Cent, Mayweather does not like being alone. He doesn't like staying on his own. Now, is this actually true? Or is it just 50 Cent speaking negatively on his used to be associate? I don't know, and I cannot prove either. However, it is definitely noticeable that Floyd is always walking around with a big entourage, surrounded by a number of bodyguards at all times. Again, we cannot make any reliable conclusions based on that, but what we can most certainly state is that he enjoys being heard and noticed. He loves outside validation. To summarize everything, because I know it has been a lot of information, we can describe Floyd Mayweather's life as a roller coaster. A life whose beginning was full of stress, violence and uncertainties. A childhood consisting of family problems, poverty, scum and filth. But also a childhood completely dedicated to mastering the sport of boxing. Then there was a glorious career of spectacular wins and dominant performances against some of the greatest fighters in the world. A career which no one has and probably will ever replicate in the future. A personal life full of inspiring moments such as taking care of his whole family, but also personal life full of controversial actions and deeds. Loved and hated by many, Floyd Mayweather will forever be a polarizing figure in the public eye. However, one thing that we can all admit is that this man reached the top of the sport of boxing, starting literally from the bottom, and in the process he completely changed the life of his whole family. Many might dislike him, even hate him, but for his family, Floyd will remain a generational hero.